second. It's being a little bit slow. There we are, recording. Brilliant. This is Fiona Robertson. I am on Inside Job. I've been doing recordings with absolutely phenomenal women who have amazing subjects to share with us all. And seeing as we're all on an inside job at the moment, I decided to call it that. I'm here today with Alison Smith, who is a fantastic astrologer whose subject is absolutely massive, but she concentrates on two particular areas that I'm really, really interested in myself, which is the rhythm of the planet, which is bringing the moon into play, understanding, what's going on, what's influencing us, and also the pagan rituals, as in, why they are where they are in certain times of the year. So, Alison, if you can give us a brief introduction to that. I mean, there's no such thing as brief when you're talking about your subject or my subject. That's the most stupid thing I could ever say. But yeah, just introduce yourself and let's hear you.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Fiona. Yeah, I'm Alison, and I've worked as an astrologer for a lot of years, and a part of my route into it was through not believing it at all. I didn't, because I'm a Leo, and I was born in August, so there we go, Leo sun, and all through my childhood I was told I should be doing this and doing that and out on the stage and being very visible, and I wasn't like that at all. So didn't believe it until I had my chart professionally drawn up, and then I realised that my Leo sun is in a part of my birth chart which works really well when it's helping others to shine.
So it's not that you had to shine, but you are able to polish other people. I love that phrase, because when I do a detox with somebody, or when I detox with their soul, I love watching them shine. I love watching the journey. You're grinning like a Cheshire cat, so I know that it's the same for you. It's like, oh my God, this is where you are. You're struggling. Something's going on that you can't cope with. That's when, for me, I see and I feel the physical symptoms as a body whisperer. And I get to polish all those things away. And it's like, well, why are you telling that story? That's not doing you any good at all. Let's tell a different story. Just polish that up. And then, after a certain length of time, they're absolutely radiant and beaming. And it's just like, nothing you or I do is a cookie cutter, is the same for everybody. It's just like, it's so intricately deep and interwoven. And our job is to kind of like, navigate all of that so that they can navigate who they are and kind of go, well, why was I doing that? I mean, why was I having for example, the same breakfast every day because it's healthy? It bored me to tears. I'm an adventurer.
Absolutely. And I always say that astrology gives us permission to be us.
Yeah.
Because it's helping, and it's giving us those thoughts, because everything is a choice. And I'm sure in your work you've got that coming through big time, Fiona, that everything is a choice. We choose, but we have great choices and we have not so great choices. And it's about finding those great choices that we can go with and that really mean a lot to us. And one of the biggest things, and it's something as women we often forget, and it is to do with the moon, and it's finding where the moon was when we were born.
Okay.
Because our moon sign is just as important to get that into balance with our sun sign. And here in the West, in the Northern Hemisphere, in the Western world, we do a lot of work on our star sign, our sun sign. And we don't tend to look so much at the other planets and the other stars.
Well, because it's so intricate.
I know, but I always say, well, let's start working with the moon. And you don't always have to exactly know where they were or are. You can start working with the moon at any time, because the moon is there in the sky and you can see it for most of its 29.6 night orbit. You can see it, and so you can start working with it quickly, and from wherever you're standing at whatever time you can start working with the moon.
When you know a little bit more about the moon, so you're talking about the rhythms of the planet. Moon is a great one, so let's bring that down to real basic terms.
Yeah.
it changes the tide.
It does.
It changes the tide. And if you don't live by the sea, you'll notice other things that the moon changes. You'll notice a lot of babies are born around full moon, those kind of things. Women get their cycle and things around full moon. If you're in tune with the planet and in tune with the moon, that's what happens. If you're a gardener, like I am, you'll do some weeding around the full moon, and nothing will get that weed out of the earth. Nothing at all. It is so, all the energy is down in the roots and they are holding onto the ground. And you wouldn't believe that a plant is so backbreaking to get out of the ground. So you think, well, life should be easy. So that should be easy. And then at other times you've pulled a weed out and you kind of go, oh my God, the dandelion came out and I've got the whole root. That's when it's the new moon and all the energy is in the leaves. And I've been noticing my seedlings and my plants and everything, and they've gone boom this week. All the leaves are up, And I've been weeding and pulling things up, and I've been showing the kids as well, because we're in lockdown, obviously. And, we've given them a metre square each. And, we say, right, okay, what plants do you want? I've got some seedlings, got some to get them into the garden, because this is great educational time to teach kids stuff that they don't learn in school. So, I've been weeding and showing them how the garden changes. And not that I'm a great biodynamic gardener, but I'm more intuitive, and I speak to the plants and do all those kind of crazy things because I speak to everything, including my car and my house. So the moon. So how else does the moon affect us on a daily basis? I used to know that when I came up to a full moon with an ex-relationship of mine, and I couldn't understand why, but violent rows just before the full moon.
It's all connected, obviously. If you picture, let's start with the new moon, because we had a wonderful new moon last week in Taurus, and it was a beautiful energy, and it was because it was in Taurus. It was an earth-based moon, so we had a lovely balance going on there. However, let's start with that moon for the cycle that we've got now coming up. So we have the new moon, and it's that little sliver in the sky, and there's lots of tales around new moon, and one of them I love because it's from my granddad, and he was a really, really, really down-to-earth man. He was a nurse, and you wouldn't get and a gardener. You wouldn't get a more down-to-earth man than my granddad, but he always used to turn his coins over at a new moon. And now he wouldn't even have known about the phrase law of attraction or anything like that, but he always used to turn his coins over at new moon and said, new moon, this'll grow. And I love that, and I've held on to that obviously for a lot of years because it meant such a lot at the time. And with that new moon you start to see the light growing, because the moon only has a reflected light of the sun. And symbolically, and we can use the moon's journey for symbolically looking at our inner worlds, the moon has a reflected light of the sun. So as the moon is new and then it starts to grow in light, and it grows in energy and gravitational pull. And that's when you start to see, as the moon grows from new all the way to full, you will see that the water table gets more abundant. And that's what you're beginning to see about being able to pull things up easier from the ground, and that everything gets more abundant. And you can see it and you can feel it and you can know it. So it's like the light from that new moon growing and growing towards full and coming into consciousness, because you can see it and you can feel it. And then after that full moon, that amazing big bold full moon that we see in the sky, after that the light diminishes and the energy diminishes. It's waning, it's pulling back, and it's going down into the roots. The roots can get deeper because the water table drops. So the roots get deeper and they do want to hold on to things, but they're also getting deeper. And symbolically, that's a great journey to take, you know, because you can sort of think to yourself, oh, okay, so this is now going into, it's not really a resting phase. You'll see it described as that sometimes, but it's not really, because it's actually where the roots of the plant are going deeper and deeper. So the light is getting less, and then we get right the way round to when the moon is just before it's going to be new again and it's dark. And that is a resting phase. That is a time when we can start to think, what do I want to do with that new moon energy that's coming up? And I come from East Anglia, and quite a journey of different places, but that's where I come from. And anyone who lives on any part of coast or regions in any country will know that there are tales of smugglers.
And they wait for the new moon because there's nothing in the sky to say.
Well, exactly. The dark of the moon was perfect for people who knew their coastlines so well for getting up to things. So there's all sorts of tales and things that are in our history, but which actually help us understand those calendars, those natural calendars. So yeah, in a nutshell, anything that you want to grow, use the growing energy after a new moon. And anything you don't want to grow, then, for instance, getting your hair cut maybe after a full moon is better because you'll keep your style for longer. Not that any of us are having a haircut at the moment.
I know. No, we're all a bit in lockdown hairstyle at the moment. I use the moon, and I have done for the last 15 years because I detox my clients. And I used to really invite people to come just after the full moon. So that's the time that you want to eliminate stuff. That's the time you want to get things out. That's also when, because I deal with emotional blocks and things like that, because they have a massive effect on our bodies and what we're thinking, how we're feeling. It all gets held up in the body. But this is a great time in the waxing moon, after the detox moon, to sort of let all that go. Just go, you know, I just don't need to carry that around anymore. And then sort of as you go through the month, then you're able to sort of like start new habits, start new things and have them in place. And then we all know, like, if you do things for about 21 days, it becomes to be a little bit more of a better habit. So I was, funny enough, I was also thinking about that to do with, you know, coaching programs and selling things and things like that as well. There must be better times of the month, not the month of May or the month of April, but I mean the month between the moons, of when it's the better time to sort of be pushing out, and the other times would be better to receive. Do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, this is kind of like off the ball. I just come up with these ideas. So.
Huge thoughts on that, because a lot of the work I do is with women for their career, which is not always business, but when you're talking about your career, it's your soul-based career, walking forwards. But if you are thinking about doing something or launching something, then you really do want to have the full light of visibility around it. And so there is some logic in looking at the moon cycles, because and actually, interestingly enough, this came up with somebody just a few days ago who was looking for some launch dates. And we can look at all sorts of astrology, obviously, and really fine tune things. But just for anyone, you would not want to be launching something in the dark of the moon, because it's not going to be seen. And
so that to make that blatantly obvious,
the
dark moon would be probably halfway through the last quarter, coming up to the new moon.
We usually say around about 3 nights before.
3 nights before. Okay.
Yeah, it's only a short amount of time when there really is no moonlight in the sky. It's not very much. I know with atmospherics, cloud cover, and actually, I mean, I've got to say it because of the time that we're living through right now, the skies are so clear.
I know. I can see the whole galaxy above me, the Milky Way or something. I'm just, it really is blowing us away.
Oh gosh, it is. I know. And so we've probably got an opportunity to see the lunar cycle, shall I say, better?
Yeah.
For want of a better word.
Yes.
Because it is only a short space of the time where the moon is in its dark phase. And it is just before giving birth to that new moon. And so it is a time, but it is a time when you really wouldn't want to be thinking about things that are going to be visible. In the same way,
to hide things.
well, like I was talking about the smugglers, you know, knowing their coastline and being able to navigate in the darkness, you know, in that time just before, you know, they knew they could use it. And that's actually another good illustration, because that's a generalization, but knowing how to use the energies.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can only build that up through experiencing it and doing it and being it. And I learned astrology and still top my knowledge up, but I also do it. And I like you, Fiona, with your work, you're doing it as well as learning it and
I'm learning all the time. And you know, by talking to women like you that I get called to speak to, attracted to speak to, because you just kept popping up, and I'm just like, okay, Alison's going to be a good person to speak to then, and you know, share that knowledge. And I'm learning all the time. You know, I'm learning how my soul is intervening the whole time. And when things get really hard, it's like, what's the lesson here? What is it that I'm up against? What can I see? How am I like that in other areas of my life? What's really going on here?
Yeah.
And you know, with my clients as well, I'm like, okay, we have to tell a different story about this particular person or this particular situation. I said it might be really, to do with money or to do with, you know, confrontation, something like that. And it's hard work to do sometimes. I don't want to have to think about them in a nice way. I said, okay, well, you know, maybe we can come find 3 nice things about them and things that you feel that you're in common with, because there will be something there that you're able to appreciate about them, which will change the energy between you. This is all invisible stuff, all inside stuff. Change the energy between you so that you can start to communicate, you know, and appreciate and see them as a completely different person. And this is what we're talking about all the time, you know.
Absolutely.
Doing things in a different way.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's about recognizing as well that we're all individuals, we are all unique beings. For me, and I have to come back to astrology because that's my language and that's what makes sense for me. Knowing that how the planets are right now at this moment in the sky, where they are positioned, the patterns that they're making, what they're doing, how they're speaking to each other. And as I'm now speaking to you now, they are already different to how they were at the beginning of my sentence. So they've already moved on and they're already making different patterns, and they'll never, ever be the same again. Every moment is completely unique, just like we are.
Yeah.
And because I find that absolutely fascinating. And also, to bring it to us, it means that the pattern of the stars that we were born under, there will never be another one like that before again. So
you are totally unique.
Absolutely.
Totally unique. But I wonder if you would also say this to your clients as well, because I have to say this. I say, you are not fixed and you are not final. Just because somebody said that about you, it doesn't mean that that's fixed or that's final. Just because you've hit that weight plateau or you've got that physical symptom, it doesn't mean that. We change, our physical structure changes. We are a living organism that changes monthly, daily, yearly. You know, within a year, you can practically change every single cell in your body. And the way that I found this, explained it to somebody else really, really well, and explained it to me really well, because I was so interested in this. So you've got the cell that has basically constructed itself from your thoughts and your feelings. And it believes that this is it. That's the final truth. And then if you decide you want to, I don't want to be a negative person anymore. I want to be a positive person. So every time you hear a negative thought, you change it to a positive thought. So next time it changes itself and produces another cell, it comes out more positive than this one. And then this one kind of goes, well, okay, I'm that positive. This is the new me. And then this produces the next cell a little bit more positive. If you keep repeating and practicing the belief, you know, I am a positive person, or I am slim, or I am healthy, or I am, you know, nothing stays the same, because we are the creators. And it's so difficult to kind of, you know, see those big concepts, you know, oh, you're the creator. Yeah, right. Well, how does that sit with me? How do I create? That's how you create, cell by cell by cell by cell. And I remember going back to visit some old work colleagues of mine when I'd left a job. And something happened about that, someone was being really derogatory about a woman who was walking down the corridor, what she was wearing or something like that. I'm like, oh my God, she might have just changed, you know, she might just be feeling really great about herself. That's why she's wearing that dress or doing. And they went, well, what happened to you? You're not the same person, are you? I went, no, obviously not, because I don't get that conversation. I don't, and that was only in 6 months' time. You can change the way you act. And I started to believe in the mystical. I started to really, I kind of knew about it, read about it. I started practicing it. And in the fact that I was driving around the countryside doing my job, and I say, it's Fiona Robertson behind you. Please move out of the way when you're ready. Boom, they would move out of the way. And I was like, ooh, this is a nice way to drive. This is a nice way. So I just started adding those kind of things in. And I suddenly realized that, you know, I had the creativity, I had the power, but you just had to know what you wanted and how you could change things for yourself. And that this is hence the work that I do. And it is, like you say, talking a completely different language. You talk a different language about yourself. And I talk to my soul like Alexa. I talk to her all the time. So it's the communication and understanding the messages that come through. So you understand the messages from the stars and the planets and the time and the rhythm of the moon. And I would like you to mention a little bit more about your seasons and your festivals, because I find that fascinating, all the pagan festivals. So it is a different language, and it's not, don't speak French, not going to do it. I don't speak soul, I don't speak planet. It's just invite it in, little by little by little by little. More and more people are talking about the soul, and more people are not just interested in their horoscope, what's going to happen for me today, but like, oh, why is that then? Bigger picture.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about choices, making great choices, as I mentioned before, and we just need to understand what those great choices are. And sometimes, you know, we need to look at one aspect of ourselves. Yeah. Or sometimes we read a book, or sometimes we go to somebody and because we're guided to go to them, or sometimes we pick something up and it just adds something else to us, to ourselves, to our inner knowledge of ourselves, and that helps us make those choices and make those great choices, and to give us permission to be us and to walk forward with confidence. And I think that's something which shines through when I look at what you do as well. It's that being able to have the confidence to walk forwards coming from ourselves. And I think that's the big thing. It's about coming from ourselves. And one of the things as well, which you will hear about, this is an illustration really in a way, people will often say to me, especially when there's a Mercury retrograde, oh, it's because of Mercury retrograde. Why? My washing machine blew up, or something like that. And I say no, actually. Any planet that's appearing to be retrograde from our standpoint here on planet Earth is giving us an opportunity to revisit something, to think about something, to tweak something, to alter it. And maybe, yes, some system did highlight a problem at that time, and so it's time to put it right.
I love that, because I often think about the house is an extension of you, the same as your car is an extension of you. Therefore, if your washing machine blew up, Or if your boiler leaked, it's like, okay, so what does that represent for me? The boiler for me is like, she's the main woman in the house, you know, the old boiler. She keeps the heating on and she keeps things going and she lets you wash up and do all those kind of things.
Yeah.
But like if your boiler's broken or heating or something, it often breaks when a woman is leaving the house, when, you know, you're selling the house. Just, God, that's the last thing I needed, you know, like my boiler breaking. Often it happens then. And when machines break down and things like that, I often like to decipher what really is the message. What's the deeper soul intervention message that's coming through here? So like you would say, it's like, what is this about? What is this on a bigger picture? It's just not, oh shit, I've got to go and buy a new washing machine. You know, everything is a self-reflection.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, on particular Mercury retrograde last year, I looked at it and I looked at the planets and I looked at it for myself, obviously. And I thought, oh, right, what do I want to do? So I actually went on a crystal healing course during that time, because when you've got that retrograde energy, that energy for thinking about what you need to perhaps improve on, or where you need to dot I's, cross T's, or something along those lines, then you can start to really look at it in a different way. And none of it is things being done to us, and I think that's a big thing really take on board.
I love that. I love it. And it's not being done to you. That person is doing that to you on purpose. There is a hidden message in there. So let's just work that out and find out what's really going on, what it's got to do with you. If you can imagine yourself being center stage and everyone else around you is just a side actor to your theatre that's going on. Like, this is your world. This is going on on your stage. You know, they're just there pushing and prodding you to kind of go, wake up, wake up, wake up. What's going on? Find out what that is. And then when you change the story, look at it from a different perspective, go, God, I never thought about looking at it like that. That's interesting. It takes the energy away. It just takes the venom away, or the throwing the arrows. And
we're human beings. We're designed to evolve. You know, that's what we do. We are designed to grow, to evolve. You know, we live on Earth, and however we measure time, and I'll talk about that in a minute.
There's another 1,000 years down.
However we measure time, we are getting older. You know, that's what we do. We don't get younger. We're not in an episode of some sci-fi drama where we get younger by the day. We get older. So we are growing and evolving. And so we can use that. You know, we don't have to sit back and think, you know, oh, I'm old. No. You still have, you know, time forwards, moving forwards, and growth. And just in the same way as nature and oh my gosh, isn't nature just amazing right now? I mean, the birds are so loud.
The birds and the bees. I've seen so many different varieties.
Big bees.
And we've seen really colourful bees. We saw like a purple striped bee the other day. Got a different gecko in our garden. I can't imagine we live right near the mountains and right by the sea. We live in between the two, in the Pays Basque, southwest of France, just before you hit Spain. And I can't wait to go in the mountains. I bet the horses have gone crazy. I bet there's babies everywhere, you know?
Yes.
You can imagine all those badgers and hedgehogs running around going, woohoo, no humans.
Yeah, I know. You know, and so nature is still getting on with growing and being even more abundant.
It's going to be a prolific harvest year this year. I feel it's just going to go boom.
Absolutely. And we can as well. And I think that's maybe one of these keys. And in a little sort of serious note, you know, restrictions are, maybe we can perceive some restrictions, but in here we're not restricted.
No, not at all. If you knew the power of your creation, God, Alison, we could talk for hours, couldn't we? If you knew the power of your possible creation of what you can do, and this is basically what I do with people, is like, you know, you can change that around 180 degrees. Don't come to me saying you're ill and all those kind of things. And I'm the pain in the backside, because I'm like, right, change that subject, change that sentence, change it, change it. And, you know, because I've had to do this work myself, I haven't always been confident. I haven't always been thinking about doing a video or something like that and just winging it. No, not at all. Everything had to be perfection and very easy and all the rest. Alison, you know, we're running out of time here. I think we should do our next session in a very short space of time, but really I want to talk about the festivals and the pagan rituals and all those kind of things, because that is fascinating. So if you're happy to sort of come back and share a little bit more about that, that would be absolutely awesome. And maybe you can just say 1 minute now about why you think this is happening right now, why the planet chose right now.
I do feel that we are going through a massive shift. I also have quite a lot to say about the fact that I feel that we are now in the age of Aquarius, and we can talk about that another time if you like. Because I feel we've got opportunity, and this is not just to do with what's going on right now. This is a slightly bigger arc, but I do feel we're being so connected. We are finding through technology and through different ways of being so connected with each other, but I also feel we've got this opportunity to reach down and connect with nature and with our ancestry as well of that rhythm.
For me, reconnect with yourself. The ultimate body connection is finding your soul. When your soul says, when you say hello to your soul and your soul says hello back to you, is it like that line in I can't remember the name of the film now, like, you had me at hello. All your soul wants is for you to say hello. And it's just like, yes, finally.
And to ground ourselves on planet Earth, because this is our home. This is where we live. You know, we're born onto Earth and we live on Earth. And to know that we do that we live here, that we're grounded here. And I think that's a big thing. That's a big message. And I think for us to remember that as well. And that's where touching in with the cycles of the moon, of the sun moving into the different zodiac signs, of the festivals of the year. Remember who we are.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's quite a deep one, and that's what you're saying as well, I know, Fiona, remembering who we are.
I don't like these shallow conversations. I love these kind of conversations because they're leading somewhere. They're leading to those, right, okay, that's why. So thank you so much for today, Alison. Thank you very much. Very much. So thank you, Soul, for guiding me towards Alison as well, because this is just the kind of conversation that I love having. When we sort of putting another piece of the puzzle in to find out why we're here, what we're doing, what's so great about us, what needs shifted ancestrally and all the rest of it. Alison, I will invite you back, and I want to do it in a very, very short space of time because I really want to hear about the age of Aquarius, what it really, really means on a down to everyday basis, and also the pagan rituals throughout the year, so that we can just know what they're all about and what they mean to us as humans on the planet. And hopefully, as I would like to say, more feeling beings rather than thinking beings.
Love that. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I'm just going to hit off record, so don't go away.